Robert's Rules of Order is one of the most highly adopted and used set of rules for parliamentary procedure in the United States. And no doubt, if you haven't used these rules, you've definitely heard them been used while attending a meeting. I call this meeting to order. If you've ever been in a meeting and wondered, what is a motion? What action can I take on this motion? Can I second what they just said? Well, the only thing I can do is refer you over to Robert's Rules of Order, written by Henry Martyn Robert, a civil engineer responsible for designing the seawall, creates order in meetings around the world. Let's get into it. Welcome to Galveston Unscripted. Thank you to our video sponsor, The Daily News, bringing you the news since 1842. Texas' oldest newspaper. Support your local newspaper, The Daily News. Henry Martyn Robert was born in 1837 in South Carolina. He grew up in a religious family. Henry had a knack for math, so much so that he was teaching a math class at West Point before graduating with honors in 1857, where he joined the United States Army Corps of Engineers. Prior to the outbreak of the Civil War, he had risen to the rank of second lieutenant. In his first few years in the United States Army Corps of Engineers, he had proven himself invaluable, and by the outbreak of the Civil War, as a well-respected engineer, he was put in charge of designing plans to protect the cities of Washington, D.C. and Philadelphia. Like today, if there was a problem that impeded the United States economy and could be solved with engineering or infrastructure, you would call on the Army Corps of Engineers. And in the late 1800s, the Army Corps of Engineers would call him one of their best and brightest. Henry Martyn Robert. Henry Martyn Robert worked on coastal defense and river projects in the Pacific Northwest, along the Great Lakes, Washington, D.C., Philadelphia, and even Galveston, Texas. But being a prolific and trusted engineer was not his claim to fame. As an engineer, he had attended plenty of planning, business, and town hall meetings, and he noticed the inconsistency of the rules when running a meeting, which could often lead to a chaotic meeting where nothing actually gets done. One of the final straws for Henry Martyn Robert is he was tasked with leading a public meeting. He had never led a meeting before, and it turned into absolute chaos. Nothing really got done or accomplished during this meeting that he was leading, and he was extremely embarrassed by this. Henry Martyn Robert was so embarrassed, he vowed to never lead another meeting again until he knew how to conduct himself and others in meetings. So through the 1860s and 70s, Henry Martyn Robert began taking copious amounts of notes and began building the guidelines for running an efficient meeting. And while he was traveling around the country, working on various engineering projects, he began writing his own rules of order that would keep meetings from falling into chaos. And in 1876, he finally published Robert's Rules of Order. This guidebook for how to run an efficient meeting was extremely popular and sold out within 6 months. Henry Martyn Robert wrote the definitive guide to parliamentary procedure in the United States, which is basically just rules to run an efficient meeting. There have been quite a few editions and prints of Robert's Rules, and most of those have been briefs or a summarization of Robert's Rules since they were so lengthy and tedious. In the 1890s, Henry Martyn Robert was dispatched to Galveston to work on the jetty project at the entrance to the ship channel, which ensured sandbars would not impede vessels coming in or leaving the port of Galveston. After the devastating 1900 storm, Henry Martyn Robert made his way back to Galveston to work on the seawall and grade raising projects, where he was the head engineer in charge of design. And you can be sure the planning meetings for the seawall, grade raising, and the jetties were run extremely efficiently. I mean, could it be possible that the reason we even have a seawall and the grade raising was completed is because those meetings were run so efficiently? I mean, they were literally handled by the man who wrote the book on parliamentary procedure. I can move my bike if you want pictures. So we could thank General Henry Martyn Robert for the original section of the Galveston Seawall and keeping our meetings run efficiently in the United States and around the world. Robert's Rules of Order is one of the most highly adopted and used set of rules for parliamentary procedure in the United States. And no doubt, if you haven't used these rules, you've definitely heard them been used while attending a meeting. Robert's Rules are popular because it allows majority rule while giving a minority a say and the opportunity to be heard. If you've ever been in a meeting and wondered, what is a motion? What action can I take on this motion? Can I second what they just said? Motion to adjourn? Anyone? Anyone? If you enjoyed this video, please make sure to like and subscribe and follow us on all social media. We are everywhere. And if you haven't yet, go check out the podcast. We've got hours and hours of historical content on that podcast feed. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time on Galveston Unscripted. I can move my bike if you want pictures. I'm making a video on the guy who designed the seawall. If you guys have ever heard of Robert's Rules of Order? Yeah, he's the one who designed the seawall. Yeah, pretty crazy, right? Planning meetings were so efficient, right?
Why they were able to finally get something.
Exactly, right?